Alright, this is just a video about sharpening small knives, and this is the way I do it, so I figured I'd show you. I grabbed some of my knives, and actually these open nails, these are my favorite knives. Hard to believe that I came back with about 12 of them in my pocket from Switzerland on a plane when I used to work over there. And this is just a little knife I picked up in Toledo, Spain. I watched them make that, and it's made out of really nice steel. I got that years ago when I was 16 and went over there. And just a little old one I've got that's a special anniversary scrimshaw one and stuff. So I just grabbed a couple of my knives out and figured I'd use them for this video. Now that type of knife there I'll never sharpen. I just buy the blades and replace them. That's the easiest to do. And those are the couple of knives I bought for out in the garden, and they're pretty dull now. And that's just an old paring knife I use in the kitchen a lot. So I just figured I'd, pull out a handful of knives and just go about sharpening them. Now these things here, these are those ones that you get for like Christmas presents and stuff and kits. Just don't even bother sharpening them. They're kind of junk. And that there was my first fishing knife when I was really young. And that one there, I had to smoke 20 cartons of Marlboros to get one. I used to smoke. Amazing what they used to do to get you to smoke more. And then that was my first Boy Scout knife when I got my tote and chip card. You could see they're all pretty well beaten up because I did not take good care of them when I was a kid. So I just thought I'd, pull a couple of them out here and get going. Now, this was the first sharpening kit I started out with, and I got that with my Boy Scout knife, so I used that for years, probably, the first 25 years of my life, and it did the job. It sharpened everything. And then water stones came out, and I switched from the oil stones to water stones for a while, but they were a little bit expensive. And finally they came out with these diamond stones, and I did use them for a while too, so pretty much anything will sharpen a knife if you spend enough time with it. Then, once I got a little older, I grabbed one of these Gatco kits. And that's really, these are what I'm going to concentrate on today. And then I did find another kit just like it. A little different, but it's made by Smith that I used to keep in my camper. And then this is a Lansky Kit. Now, I had one of these, and I looked all over for it. I could not find it, so I just ordered a new one from Amazon to show it. And turns out the new one is nothing like the old one I had. The clamp is really cheap, and it's not even machine square or anything like that. So they sure have changed these things over the years. I don't know what happened to my old one and the stand I had, but maybe someday I'll find it. But the stones were about shot anyway, so I figured I'd get that. Then I just decided to throw a piece of wood on my lathe and turn up a quick holder for the Lansky Kit there. That really helps when you're sharpening. So you can see I made that to fit the peg holes in my bench, and then there's a hole in the little bracket there for the knife that just sits on there, and that'll hold it up. Now, this kit comes with a variety of stones from an extra coarse to an extra fine, and they're just little bent rods that go in there. And one thing you have to make sure when you're putting these things together is there's a little flat. I'll show you in a second, but you have to get that on there so that the rods lock in place pretty much perpendicular or parallel with the stone. And you just tighten them in, so they work pretty good. Now the Gatco kit that I have, I like these stones much better in this kit actually. That's just got rods that slide out to allow you to use it and slide in for storage. And these stones do stand up better than the Lansky stones. So so there are a lot of similarities and a lot of differences. Now there's that Gatco holder. You can see this is more like the older Lansky holder. It's a little bit heavier duty, and this one's always had more angles to choose from on it too, but it's definitely a better holder, but they don't make them anymore. And here's that little flat I was talking about on these arms for the Lansky. You want to get the nut centered in there. And this is an extra coarse stone here. You can see it's got quite a selection right down to the extra fine. So I'm just going to start out with this one, and there's a couple screws in there. You have to loosen that one screw up. About 4 turns, they say, to get started, so you can clamp your knife in there. Now, for some reason, this one does not have a very good grip on it. My old one used to have a better lip on there where you get the knife in there and pinch it good. This one, you got to kind of slide the knife back past that little lip in there to get it to clamp. And then I'm just going to snug that down, and then get that position about 5/8 from the edge here on the knife this size, and just tighten it down. And pretty much ready to start sharpening it. You can see it holds the knife, so it's perfectly flat and centered in there between those slots. Now the slots are to determine the angle that you're sharpening at, and you always want to, when you're using stones like this, you always want to make sure that you do use oil. And like I said, these are brand new here, so it's going to take a while to get some oil soaked into them. But then you pick the angle that you want to sharpen at, and this is just kind of an outdoor knife, so I'm using the 25 degree. And then I'll just take this extra coarse stone a couple times till I see that all the little nicks and dings are gone out of the blade. And this is good for, removing some real fine nicks and stuff like that. Anything more you're going to want to do with a different type of tool. And I couldn't get that to go in there because of the screw, so I had to put it over on the lathe and turn it down a little bit to make it fit in there for the next stone. You can see when I went to flip it, that red thumb screw hit. So you flip it over and do the same thing. Now it'd be nice to have a cut-proof glove when you're doing this, because you're actually going into a cutting edge, pushing towards the cutting edge. And I've got a lot of oil on my fingers right now from oiling the stones, so it would be smart to have an actual one of those cut-proof gloves. But basically, you just go over it with, start with the coarse stone. And once it looks like all the nicks and dings are out of it, you see a nice light line going along there, even where it looks like you got an even edge. You can move on to the next stone. And there still were a couple little dings in it at the end there. I beat this up pretty bad in the garden anyway, so it did need a good touch up. But it's it may not be the best way, but it's the best thing that works for me, because I have a hard time keeping the angles doing it by hand. So if you're good at sharpening by hand, then these kits may not be useful to you. But pretty much I kind of rely on them just because it's nice to have a fairly constant angle on there. And once you got the blade pretty much cleaned up with the coarse stone, then it's time to move on to the next finer stone, a regular coarse stone instead of the extra coarse. I try to do about the same number of strokes on each side, and on a longer blade you can't cover the whole blade sometimes. So you have to do it in sections like that. And I will tell you, it is kind of hard to do when you're trying to stay out of the way of the camera here. You can't just kind of hold it in front of you, get right in front of it and do it and stuff. So it is a little awkward the way I'm doing it now, just because of the camera where it is. But these things do work pretty nice, and they do keep a fairly constant angle. It does shift a little bit going around the radius, but you can't really do anything about that. And then I'm just going to move down to the medium stone. Make sure you put it on the same angle that you start with. And same thing, I'm just going to do a couple of full strokes on there, and just kind of watch that area where you're sharpening. To kind of, you can see the sheen on it change as you're going from grit to grit. Just a real fine line, but the reflection of it does change. And you know, these smaller knives, I really haven't had much luck with anything else. It's nothing. I mean, I've got some of the power wheels and stuff like that, but it's hard to keep an even edge without ruining the blade, putting a divot in the blade or anything like that, I find. And these are very forgiving if you just, they do take a while. You have to go over it until, you know, take a couple passes over each one to get it good in. This knife is actually stainless steel, so it's really harder to sharpen than a steel blade, a carbon steel blade. So it does take a couple more passes on it. But I think you can pretty much get the idea here. I just continue with each one of these little stones until I you know, get down to the finest one there. And you know, that's the one thing there where you really have to be careful when you got the oil on your fingers. And here we are, we're down to the extra fine. And basically you're just making the burr smaller on it with each of the stones. And this is just, you know, this is just a utility knife for my garden, so it doesn't have to be razor sharp either. That's why I'm using the 25-degree angle. That actually will make it stay sharper a little bit longer. So that's it. This one knife here is basically done now. Just go hit this other side a couple times here. And it's got a nice constant angle on it. And it's definitely sharp. It's not a razor sharp when you go with a 25-degree angle though, but it's sharp. And I will say I really don't like this clamp on this this Lansky one. You can see the blade started coming loose in the end, and actually I just about had to hold it in the end, but you know, it did get through it. And it's amazing how old stuff is always better than new. And there you can see it's just a little piece of it's like a thicker paper there trying to cut. And 25-degree doesn't give you like a razor sharp paper cutting thing, but it's something that's good for, like, you know, carving wood, or you know, working in the garden and stuff like that, cutting rope and, you know, things like that. So then I'm just going to stick in one of these open L knives, and these are a carbon steel blade. And these things it's amazing how sharp you can get these things if you work on them. They're my favorite knife. I've always used them for camping, and you know, these three here spent many years in our camper, and we used them for everything in there. And they pretty much hold a razor sharp edge. So I'm just going to start with like the medium, because this one's not really that dull. And again, you can see that that little holder does basically hold any size knife. And now I'm running on a slightly lower angle to get a sharper edge on it. I'm down one notch there, you can see. And if you get that edge, if you go to the lowest angle there, then it's an edge that won't stay sharp. It's just too sharp, basically. It's just like a razor edge, which you really don't want on a knife. So I'm just going to do a couple passes with, you know, the medium, the fine, and then the extra fine. And clean this knife up. And you know, basically these knives, they come out they come out sharp and they stay sharp. Now, what I usually do on these is I go back and I just put them on that grizzly that leather stroke wheel for a little bit and just hit them, and then you can really get them just like kind of like a razor blade. But they do make a leather stroke for the Lansky Kit also that you can use right on the guide there. But I've got this in the shop, so I just run over and do that if you really want to get all the burrs off and, you know, get a good sharp edge. And then I'm just going to grab another. This is one of my Kershaws. I got a bunch of these. They really hold the edge also. They're a great knife. And same thing, this one wasn't that dull, so I'm just going to hit it with the mediums and the fine and the extra fine. And I'm going back, I'm using the 25-degree angle on this one. So I just wanted to kind of show you that, you know, these little holders will basically hold any style blade, you know, any smaller blades. And you really wouldn't want to do a long knife blade with them just because they're so, the travel on the stones is so short. But, you know, for any kind of pocket knife or short knife like that, they really work good. And, you know, this comes out as a 25 degrees, and it does come out fairly sharp. And, you know, it's good, a good edge that'll last. And then this is just another little carbon steel knife from my kitchen. It's a little paring knife that I use all the time. And I'm just going to show you that the this Gatco kit works pretty much the same. You can see they're bigger stones, and these stones have been used a lot, and they're still in good shape. So the stones are tougher, but I don't think they still sell the same kit. Trouble is, there's no way to hold this, so I really should probably drill holes to mount it. But you can see you've got to kind of hold it up while you're working on it, so that makes it a little bit tougher to use. But you know, basically it works the same way. And this one does have a little bit more of a choice in angles, and you can see this stone is long enough that it actually can handle a little bit longer blade here with no problem in one stroke. And these have a little bit better grips on them too to hold on to. And again, I always put oil on them. You always want to keep these stones oiled so that you don't destroy them. But, you know, there you can see it's these stones are got a little bit more grip to hold on to and stuff, but they still work the same way as the other one. And then let's just put some oil on the fine one there. And just finish up with the fine. You can kind of see how you got that one section where it's sharpened, where the reflection of the blade actually changes. And then another thing that I've used in the past with success for sharpening is if you don't have one of these kits, just one of these diamond stones. You use them dry, and you wash them off when you're done using them with water, but basically, they'll give you a pretty much a razor sharp edge too. So, you know, if you don't have one of these kits and you can just get a hold of one of those diamond stones, they really work good too. And then I'm just gonna go back to the Lansky one, and I wanted to show you that. You know, this is a fairly tiny knife blade here, and it pretty much works, you know, right down to the real small ones. And, you know, they're my favorites because they're kind of foolproof, actually, in the end. And then just go right down and do the extra fine stone there. And, you know, basically you're really not taking much off with that fine stone. You're just pretty much polishing it up. So, you know, there it is. And one thing for knives, I'll put mineral oil on them most of the time if there's a chance that they'll be used for food. Like these Opinels, they're a carbon steel knife, and I always put a little bit of mineral oil on them because you can actually drink that stuff. So, you know, it won't hurt you if you do get in contact with food. And it did take some hair off my arm there. Now, this is another kit that I have that I bought years ago. This one I bought for actually when we had a big camper, we had a big Winnebago, and I bought this to keep in the camper for when we went camping for all my knives. And this is made by Smith's, and it's basically just a 2-stone kit. It has a fine stone there, and the little shafts on there. You know, pretty much similar thing, but they do thread in. I guess it's a matter of patterns of how you do this, so you don't copy somebody else's. And then this other stone is a coarse diamond stone, which is really good because it's good for knives, and it's also good for axes and stuff like that. If you're out camping, it'll pretty much sharpen anything. So this one has a little bit simpler holder. It's, you know, it's half plastic and half aluminum, but it does clamp the knives really good. You can see that this one's actually got a nice deep groove in it, and it does you know, it does have a nice shelf there to clamp the knife in. But again, it does not have a holder to use while you're sharpening it. So there it is, knives clamped in, and this one actually I wish they all had a clamp like that. But basically the same thing. Now I'm going to start with the diamond stone, and normally I'll never put lubricant on the diamond stone, but in this kit they say you should put a little bit of lube on the diamond stone. I don't know why, but I'll do what they say. It says it'll make it last longer. And then again, this is pretty much the same as the other two. Just this stone is quite coarse and aggressive, and it will you know, it will change the shape of a blade quick, so you have to be careful with it. But there were a couple nicks in this blade, and I figured I'd just, you know, take them out here, and that does it. And then there's no medium on this one, so sometimes you got to work with the fine one a little bit longer. But you know, I found that when you went camping, it didn't really matter that much. You had plenty of time to sit around a campfire and sharpen a knife. So you know, this was just a nice little kit to take with us. And again, it's kind of awkward trying to get it so you see it on the camera, but you kind of get the idea that, you know, all these kits, they basically just allow you to follow the same angle across the whole blade, which, you know, helps you get a nice sharp edge. Which, if you're good by hand, you can do the same thing with a stone by hand. So that's it on that one. That one just took a couple of passes. It's not really razor sharp right now. I'd have to do it a couple more times, but you know, I just wanted to show you how this kit works the same as the other two. But this knife holder really does hold. So that came out pretty good, and just grab one more little knife. This is a little knife I watched them make in Toledo, Spain. I was there when I was 16. My sister was in college there, and I went over to visit her for a couple weeks. And this little knife, it's amazing that this is really made out of high quality steel. It looks like a little piece of junk, but it's really a nice little knife. And same thing, I'm just going to go over it with the fine stone here and just touch it up a little bit. Just to show you that, you know, no matter what shape the blade or size of these little blades, these kits somehow will work with them. So then every once in a while you get a blade that's too bad to use these kits on, and this is actually my first hunting knife I dug out, and it was abused bad. But you see there's some really big nicks in there out of the blade, probably from me throwing it in the ground or something like that. And those kits just won't fix a blade like that. So what I like to do if you get a real bad blade is just use the belt sander. I take this little Harbor Freight belt sander, a fairly fine belt on it. And a couple passes on that will actually straighten the blade out and remove all the nicks. So there you can see I kind of reshaped the blade a little bit, but those two big nicks in the front are gone. Then once you get rid of them, you can go back and start with the diamond stone on this, and you know, just work your way through and I mean, it's an old rusty knife and stuff, but you know, still I could clean that up pretty good now if I wanted to. And I just thought I'd show you. You know, you get these old abused knives, and when you're a kid, you never took care of anything right. But still, you can sharpen them up if you want to. So that, you know, that's about it. I just figured I'd show you what I use for sharpening all my smaller knives and pocket knives and garden knives and stuff like that. And the bigger ones I use something different on, but you know, I just figured I'd show you that. This Gatco kit, that's really been a great one. And this new Lansky kit is the brackets nowhere near the quality of the old one, but the stones are the same, so you know they still work good. And that I actually bought on Amazon. I'll put a link to that. And this one here is just a Smith kit. I don't even know if they still make that. And you know, any kind of Arkansas stone or whetstone, they'll work too if you use them. And one thing that's nice is if you get these kits is you can just close them up and keep everything together for when you need it. It really does, you know, make it nice so you don't have pieces laying all over the place. So I had a couple people ask me what I use for sharpening small knives, and you know, this is basically it. I figured I'd make a video about it. Thanks for watching. Please subscribe.